Godwin, it's good to have you join me right now. Nasarawa State was a state that a lot of persons thought, because the national chairman of APC is from there, that APC would have won the state. But it didn't turn so. Can you give us some of the idea how APC lost Nasarawa State?
Thank you very much, Mike. It's been a very long night for us at TVC. I want to say well done to all of you. National State, I would say it's shocking to everyone. Although for some who are pundits who truly know what politics is all about and the indices, it's not shocking. But for those who perhaps are party men, it's shocking to them. If we start from the Western Senatorial Zone, where the national chairman of the party hails from, or where he votes, or the Senatorial Zone where he was the former senator occupying that seat before he got the position of the national chairman. There are a lot of issues there and a lot of things. All this started from when the primary election of the party was held last year. The party was thrown into confusion and they had a lot of defections. In the Western Zone there, we had series of problems. In fact, we Labaran Magaji of the APC taking even the candidate of the APC to the court because he is also a lawyer. So he took the candidate of the APC to the court. Ahmed Wadada, who won the seat now presently, also contested in that primaries. So it was a lot of confusion and problem after the primaries. So Wadada haven't or felt that he was shortchanged because the issue of Wadada and the national chairman of the party didn't just start today. In 2015, it was alleged that Wadada won overwhelmingly in that zone. And although the national chairman was then declared by the Independent National Electoral Commission as the winner, Wadada was about moving to court when a gentleman agreement was reached between Wadada and the national chairman of the party, not to go to court, that he is assuring him that the next election, which is 2019, he was going to hand over the seat to him. And he agreed and he didn't go to court to seek or reclaim his mandate. In 2019, it was alleged that the national chairman tried to convince Wadada to rather take a shot at the office of the governor instead of coming back for the Senate, so that perhaps he wouldn't go back to drag the Senate seat with him. So rather than going for the Senate in 2019, he decided to go to contest for the seat of the governor, and then he contested with the incumbent governor of the state, Abdullahi Sule, where he emerged second at the primary election, and while Sule picked the party's ticket. So for Wadada, it was like a deception and a distraction from his ambition of becoming a senator. So he lost out at the primaries of the governorship, and his aim initially was to go for the Senate, but he was convinced by the incumbent national chairman of the party then to go for the governorship rather than the Senate, paving way for the national chairman to secure another ticket for the Senate. And of course, the national chairman won and returned back to the Senate. So this whole thing played out, and then the 2023 election, of course, 2022 primaries was held. And Wadada this time around decided, because he became very close to the incumbent governor, decided that he's not going to contest for the governorship, rather that he was going to contest for the Senate. But Abdullah Damu vowed, and in fact, there was a statement he made publicly that's he, that's natural chairman Abdullah Damu, is not God, that is not playing God, but he doesn't have the power to say who will succeed him, but he knows those that will not succeed him. That was the statement he made. That's referring to Wadada, that Wadada perhaps might not succeed him. Abdullah Damu was lucky enough to emerge as the national chairman of the party, thereby last year, thereby making the seat of the Senate vacant. One would have thought that, looking at the previous history that the fact that Wadada, a former House of Reps member in that same zone, who is a man of the people on the streets, one would have thought that perhaps the gentleman agreement reached in 2015, the national chairman would have handed over that seat to Wadada without stress. But he refused and gave it to Ahmed Tuku. Ahmed Tuku is from Kefi local government. He gave it to Ahmed Tuku, and Ahmed Tuku had the backing of the Traditional Council of Kefi. And that was how they went on. So the primaries, Wadada was denied the ticket of the party of the APC in the primaries. Now, he wanted to move into the PDP, but the PDP seems to have been filled at that time. So Wadada decided to give a shot at the SDP, that's the Social Democratic Party. Now, he's lucky that the time he's moving to the Social Democratic Party, the House of Rep member, the incumbent House of Rep member in that same zone, Carol constituency, Carol Kefi constituency, also lost his primaries because he also defected from the PDP to the APC. But he also lost his primaries at that point in time. So they both defected to the SDP. That's Jonathan Gaza. And Jonathan Gaza is overwhelmingly loved by his people in that place. Both of them defected to the SDP, the Social Democratic Party. And the result is what we are seeing now.
So Godwin, what you're saying is that party stalwarts who were supposed to use their resources, use their clout to work for the party, they were at loggerheads, and it cost the party very dearly.
Very, very dearly. In fact, if that's for the Nasarawa Western Central Zone. Now let's come to the Southern Zone, where we have Tanko Amakura, the immediate past governor of the state, before he handed over to the incumbent governor, Abdullah Isule, and then Ogoshena, who is the PDP candidate of Nasarawa South. Now, the same thing that played out at the Western Zone of the state almost played out here. Now, the same party primaries had made a lot of people to defect from the APC. Most assembly members lost their seats, incumbent assembly members lost their seats in this zone, in the Southern Zone here, and had to defect to the same SDP, including the City House of Rep member in this zone, Lafia Obi, Abubakar Secretary. He also defected to the SDP and also won his election. So all these things played out at the senatorial election. Now, if you look at Tanko Amakura is from Lafia, and he's Gwandara by tribe. The Gwandara people are not the majority in this zone. The Alago people are the majority. They have the majority in the Southern Senatorial Zone, but they are the second largest group in the states. But in this zone, they are the highest. Now, the Ogoshona of the PDP is the majority, is from the majority, which is the Alago tribe, and he is contesting with Tanko Amakura. Now, the Alago people felt that the senatorial seat in the state or in the Southern Zone is the only thing they have that they should guide jealously. So they decided to rally around their own and supported him. In fact, if you see from the voting pattern, you will know that it was a tribal voting pattern that was adopted. In Doma alone, Ogoshana got close to 20,000 votes or even more than. And while Tanko was coming behind with about 9,000 votes in Doma local government. And if you follow the history of Doma local government in the old Plateau, Benue, Nasarawa state, you'll notice that Doma has always been a swing state. If the results of Doma has not been announced in any election, when in the old Plateau state, whoever was leading would never be comfortable. So they had a very, very tight race in Lafia, which is the capital of the state, Amakura and Ogoshana. In a way, the same thing, the race was very tight. In Obi, the same thing, the race was very tight, but Doma was the deciding factor. And Doma is the local government where the PDP candidate here was from. So it was more of a tribal voting. And one of the reasons why the Ogoshana was succeeded is that majority of the people who would have worked for the APC, especially the assembly members, left the APC and defected to other political parties. And that was because that was the fallout of the primary election. Now, the same thing happened with the Nasarawa North election. Now, the incumbent senator of that zone, Senator Godwin Aguam, lost at the primaries, the APC primaries. He lost to Danland Evulanzi. He had no choice than to defect to the SDP. He defected to the SDP, and that zone is largely a Christian zone. So he had the support of the people in that zone, the SDP candidate. So, and that's why he defeated the candidate of the APC overwhelmingly. So that was all. These were all the things that played out at the election in Nasarawa State. So now, at present now, Nasarawa State APC has no senator in the entire state. The southern zone has one PDP, the northern zone SDP, the western zone SDP. So 2 SDP senators,
So Wadada is
one
senator now.
southern senators. Now for the House of Rep seats, at least APC they were lucky enough. Abdul Ari got the National Total constituency votes from the APC. Jonathan Gaza got the Karo. Kokuna Kefi from the SDP. JJ Umoru, Jeremiah Umoru from the National Northern Zone got the SDP. He was victorious from the SDP party. Now, coming down to the Southern Zone, we have 2 House of Rep members here in the Southern Zone. One is from the Lafia Obi Federal Constituency, which is Abubakar Sekindairu, popularly known as Meyama, from the SDP. He won overwhelmingly. Then, from the Kiana and Away Federal Constituency, the APC was lucky. So, in all, the APC were lucky to clinch about 3 House of Reps seats, while they lost 2 to the opposition parties in the states.
Now,
So this was what exactly played out in the states.
What are the implications of what do you see happening in the governorship election
The state House of
and the
Assembly.
state assembly election in the light of what we have seen these last few days? SDP winning, I mean, 2 senatorial seats against expectations. What do you see happening? Is the governor's seat under threat, given the fact that Labaran Maku and others have chosen to work for the candidate of the PDP?
Well, for the governorship, it's another ball game altogether. I think the governor, if he wants to win, he has to do some realignment, especially with his party men who are defected to the SDP and other political parties. Because now, if you look at it very well, for the very first time in the state, the Egon tribe are featuring one candidate in a major political party, which is the PDP. That is David Umbogadu. They are the largest ethnic group in the state, and they have never for once since 1999 ruled the state. But for the first time, they have a candidate in the PDP, Umbogadu, who is not being disturbed by any of his tribesmen, unlike it used to be in the past. In 2019, we had Maku in Abga struggling it out with him from the same zone at the polls. Previously, the same thing happened in 2015. There were 2 Egon candidates in the race. So, but for the very first time in the state, all the Egon political actors and gladiators are all in one ship. Solomon Euga is still in the PDP, and he is very, very popular in the state. Even though he's very quiet these days, but it doesn't mean that his presence in the PDP there does not mean that he is not in support of his own brothers who are in the PDP. So they are in one house, the PDP people are in one house, and the Egon people are almost in every senatorial zone of the state. If you go to the southern zone, you find the Egon people who are indigenous of that zone. If you go to the northern zone, in fact, that's where they are predominant. They have the highest voting population in that zone. In the western zone, you still find some few Egon persons. Now, the issue with the PDP now is that, or what you find peculiar with the PDP now is that they seem to be aligning with the second largest ethnic group in the state, which is the Okoshona factor of the Nasarawa South, who won the senatorial seats. They seem to be aligning with him. And if peradventure they are lucky to get the votes of the Alago people, who are the second majority, then one would not be able to say exactly what would happen at that election. But Also, the deputy governor of the state, who is also the running mate to Abla Adamu, Abla Isude, the incumbent governor, is also from the second largest tribe, which is the Alago. So it's going to be a very tight race in the Nasarawa southern zone here, where we have the Alago deputy governor as an Alago, or the running mate as an Alago to the APC, and while we have the one who has won the central seat, Ogoshonawo, in the PDP, supporting his PDP brothers from the Natural Northern Zone, that is the Gun brothers from the Natural Northern Zone, Dave Mattis Bugadu. So it's going to be a very tight race, because now the ASUA has to go back and realign with his friend Wadada, who has moved to the SDP from the Western Zone. If he's able to get the support of Wadada from that zone, then I think he will be coasting to victory, because Wadada is overwhelmingly loved in the Western Zone of the state. Now, ASUA is from the Northern Zone of the state. One factor that would work for him, if religion is put aside from his zone, because he is from a zone that is largely dominated by the Christians. Akwanga local government is where he is from, and we have people who are from Nasarawa, and they are more into religious politics in that zone. But he has a lot of appointees who might want to be loyal to his government and decide that, oh, we have done something different at the presidential election. I'm sorry, I didn't even tell you that the Labour Party won overwhelmingly in Nasarawa State, while APC followed behind.
Based on the Christian vote, right?
Based on religious voting, Labour Party won Nasarawa State. The Carol factor alone gave Labour Party victory. Carol people alone gave him 57,000, gave Labour Party 57,000 something votes. While Akwanga local government gave him more than 18,000 votes. Akwanga local government, where the governor hails from, gave Labour Party more than 80,000 votes. So the governor could not win his local government at this point in time. The same thing happened in Obi local government, where they gave him almost 19,000 votes, Labour Party candidate. So you see, Nasarawa people are religious in their voting, especially when it comes to presidential election. It has always been a difficult terrain for the APC to win from time immemorial. If not for 2019, where they had a lot of cancellation of votes in the election. APC won in that 2019. But previously, if you look at the record, it was in 2015, it was the PDP that won.
Okay.
So that's exactly the case. So he will have to go for realignment, and perhaps the incumbency factor might work for him, looking at the fact that he's returning to office. So, and he has a lot of appointees who would want to also return to office. So they might decide to work for him. But if they don't go that way, if they go by religious voting, it might be a different thing. Because in the NLPP here, there is somebody they call Medoya, who is very, very popular in Lafayette.
All right, Godwin.
He might be dividing the...
All right, Godwin, thank you so much for the permutation. You've given us an idea of how everything is playing out in Nasarawa State. Thank you so much.
The level of
thank you.